trying to deal with lighting here.
You when you logged on earlier either.
Let me text Sean, see where he's at.
He's probably talking to Officer Igo.
There he's calling. Sean.
Where's Sean?
Okay, I have.
Sean. You're kidding. It should be all the same link. All right, let me send another email to you. Hang tight. Sorry. Okay, bye. I sent Sean a link. He was having trouble with it, so we'll give him a second here.
There he is. They get
There you go, Sean. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. There you go.
Nope.
Now you're muted.
Like your mic on the computer might be dead.
Yeah, check your audio settings. Computer, mic, or something like that. No.
Like my first Zoom meeting.
You're gone. You're
Sean, say something now. I'm looking and it doesn't say mute. See if you can see if we can hear you.
no. Let me see here. Participants.
Ralph, he could come up and take my spot here at my desk if he wants.
Okay, we might have to do that.
Now.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, we got Sean twice.
Trying to.
He's got to turn on mute one of them that you're not talking into. Otherwise, we're going to get that feedback.
Okay, gotcha now.
Okay, that works.
Okay.
So you can switch screen, or you should be able to.
Yeah, I'm going to try to shut this screen off. There. Okay, we good?
Yep.
Nope.
Yep, you're just on twice. That's fine.
We
You
got
got your
you.
twin in.
Share-
You got your
share
twin.
vision.
Okay, sorry about that.
Works.
We have a contingency plan.
So
Okay,
CNET, you can start taping. Go ahead, John.
okay. So can I share the screen now, Ralph?
Yes.
Okay, so Joanne wanted me to give a little presentation on our use of force policy and procedure. In light of, it's a good idea that we review our policies on a biannual basis. Anyhow, there's about 5 policies that are really our bread and butter policies. So we have a policy for everything on how to comb your hair, how to trim your mustache, but the policies that we really need to brush up on and keep abreast on our use of force policy, our policies on pursuit. The ones that happen very little, but when they do happen, you need to do them right. So I did a little presentation together about what we with our use of force, and if I can try to get on to this. Okay, it's not pulling it up.
That's your outlook.
So click on, unshare your screen for a second. Go to the article, put it up on the screen, and then there you can say share screen again, and that should be what shows up.
Right, yeah, I'm trying to find, I had it. Here it is. Documents. Oh, man. Here we go. Okay. So the use of force, we define the use of force as the amount of force required by police to compel an individual or unwilling person to comply. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, our main goal is compliance. Once we gain compliance with whatever use of force is necessary, that's our main goal. The least amount of force that we have to use. So where we get our authority to use force is by Pennsylvania Crimes Code, Title 18, and the Fourth Amendment, which protects citizens from the illegal search and seizure. Now, there's 2 very important Supreme Court cases that deal with the use of force throughout the country, and they're in the mid-'80s. Graham versus Connor, which basically indicates that whenever an officer uses force, the reasonableness test is that they must be judged from the perspective of a reasonable police officer that was on the scene, rather than being looked at in 2020 hindsight. And all the facts and circumstances need to be taken, that the officer was confronting has to be taken into consideration. And then the second one is the Tennessee versus Garner, which is 1985, another U.S. Supreme Court case. That basically says up until 1985, an officer could use deadly force on a fleeing felon, basically no matter what kind of a felon it was. It could be a burglar suspect and unarmed. They could be fleeing from fleeing apprehension, and they could be back up until 85. They could have been, a victim of unnecessary use of force. So then we get to,
Your screen's not showing up.
yeah, I'm going to change it back. Okay. So Okay, so there's use of force pyramid is a decision chart that we use. I don't know if you can all read that, but
Can't
So we-
see it.
It's not on the screen.
it's not.
No.
Screen share. I guess I didn't do that great of a job on preparing here. Is that showing?
Nothing.
John or Ralph, maybe you can run downstairs and fix it. for him.
Sean, if you have it on your other computer, the video works there. Can you bring it up on that one and then talk off of the one you're talking on? Give that a shot and then I'll come down.
Yeah.
I think that's what you were saying, is you had it already on that computer.
I have it on this one right here. Can you see that one?
No.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to go down and read it to you. Okay, so there's 8 types of force that are used by a police officer. The first one is officer presence. The next one is verbal commands. The next one would be open hand tactics, like a come along, or you grasp someone by the arm. The next level would be pressure point tactic controls or pain compliance. The next step in the continuum would be OC or pepper spray. The 6th level would be baton, taser, knee strikes. 7 would be less than lethal, like a beanbag round with a shotgun. It's like a shotgun round. It projects a beanbag. And then 8 would be the lethal or deadly force. Now, the use of force continuum states that when an officer goes to a scene of like we'll just say like a fight. So my mere presence alone, when I first arrive on scene, if that doesn't quell the situation, I might have to go from the first level right to pepper spray, or right to the taser, or I could just visually or verbally, de-escalate the situation if that is the, if that's going to work or not. So pretty much a lot of our incidents that could be civil in nature, non-criminal. There's always going to be some kind of a conflict there. And first and foremost, we want to de-escalate the situation. And you've heard a lot about de-escalation lately in the news. Let me see if I can pull this up. Hit screen share. Can you see that?
No.
No. Okay. So when people are talking about de-escalation, you hear a lot about that in the news. The de-escalation part is, I like to think of it before the confrontation even starts, and working through, and say if there was a use of force, we'll just say it was at level 4 or 5. So we had to use pepper spray or a taser to de-escalate that situation back down to where, okay, the person's in handcuffs. He is, he or she is subdued. Now we have to make sure the safety of the individual. We have to render aid to that person because now they're in compliance. So once they're in compliance and they're not, resisting arrest anymore, we have to de-escalate in that situation too. And I can remember a few incidents where we were wrestling around, or having to take someone into and put him in handcuffs on a hot day like today. Individual was 35, 40 years old, slightly overweight, and we knew he had some medical history. We didn't want to roll around with him too much. There was 3 or 4 of us there. And once we did get him into handcuffs, we immediately, began putting water on him, covering him from the sun. And, that's once the individual's in our custody, their safety is paramount. Now, with the training that goes along with de-escalation, is one of it's called verbal judo. Every new officer takes that course. Usually it's in the academy, or we send them to Harrisburg. Verbal judo is a very good way to use words, how to speak to people when they're in crisis situations. It saves a lot of headache for us. It saves us saves a lot of use of force incidents where we could have used force, but our officers were skilled and trained in other ways on how to take that person into custody. Our county does crisis intervention training. Again, that's another good tool. A lot of our use of force incidents do stem from mental health and HMR calls. And knowing how to deal with those people is, on a different level is very paramount. A lot of people would just see someone who has a mental crisis and not know how to de-escalate that situation. And sometimes they do turn violent. The officer's experience and training is also key. The more experience, obviously, that they have with taking these types of calls and verbalizing and just walking through the scenarios, is you can't put a price on the training and experience. And then we always use a 2-officer method, 2 or 3. If you remember seeing on the video footage of a lot of these instances in the country that have taken place, the recent one where there were 3 other officers there, and they're there for a reason, and and I don't want to be a Monday morning quarterback, but with another set of eyes, there would have been less chance of that happening. So we very seldom do we ever handle these situations with just one officer. Let me see here if I can pull my other one up.
That's something there now.
Technology is great, but not for me. There
you go, Sean. You had it.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
This wheel? Okay. So there we go. Okay, so we have, like I said, we have different kinds of people that we deal with. The not resistant, the passively resistant, the aggressive, and then the deadly resistant. So see the officer standing in the middle of this wheel. Okay, he's in the middle of a situation, and you see all these options around him. There's deadly force. Over here we have spray, OC, pepper spray, baton, verbal commands, presence, personal weapons, and control holds. And then this ECD is a taser. So our goal is to bring someone into the center of this circle, and that's compliance in the center. So a lot of people have the misconception that officers, when they arrive on scene, they have to go through the every step of the continuum before they reach deadly force. I might have to go from, go on scene to a call where I'm verbalizing, and all of a sudden something could be put in front of me or another officer or someone that I could have to jump to deadly force without any instant warning, just in a matter of a second. Generally speaking, we always want to, our presence, 99.9% of the time, our mere presence alone is enough force, use of force for the normal individual. However, sometimes we do have to escalate. And with the goal of use of force is compliance. So if we gain compliance by, talking our way into it, that's great. This year, we've only had, in 2019, we've had 4 incidents where we had to use either a taser or the use of force above and beyond verbal, which is, I feel, is a pretty good statistic. We've never had a member of this department, never has been brought up on any kind of official complaints of excessive force. And the key is now where officers are getting second guessed a lot, and sometimes rightfully so. We don't want our officers to second guess themselves into getting hurt, hesitating when they shouldn't have hesitated. That does happen. We have had our share of injuries here with the use of force, and most of them have been on mental health calls. Let's see if I can get out of this. Okay, we went over that. Okay, do you see this screen? Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
So the training that we have, and I could have a whole segment on training, but we have break training down into several different types of training that we do. One is legal annual training, or our manual MOPEC required update training, which happens every year. And that's governed by the state police and MOPEC. And MOPEC, the colonel of the state police runs as the chairperson of MOPEC. So MOPEC stands for Municipal Police Officer Education and Training Committee or Commission. And they say what we have to do every year. If you see over here, we have in 2020, they mandated that we had legal updates, explosive device training, and then the other 2 here. So the chiefs get together, and every year we have elective training. We get together and we have put together a curriculum for what we want to cover that year in the county. And over here, you can see in 2020 where we had autism training, and I just marked the ones that are being looked at this year, so to speak, in more than what they normally would have been looked at by the public. Diversity training, infection control, mental health, use of force. So what we do every year as chiefs, we look at what happened that year. And in 2019, there was we had the Asagi death, and there was we thought that we could get some training and some MHMR training, and then the use of force. You can see use of force is in there pretty much every year. Cultural diversity, so it goes right down to 2015. So our local chiefs, we're pretty on top of what are the current issues in law enforcement, and what's on the forefront what's the hot topic that year. It's kind of hard to cover everything. So that's why this is the mandatory training we do yearly. And then there's also training that we send our officers to, much larger like a week-long courses, more skill sets specified, like hostage negotiations, accident investigations, homicide investigations, things of that nature. And when we try to do it, we try to make sure that the training is offered locally and preferably free. If it's out of town training, usually the only cost that the borough has would be the lodging and the food for the week. But training and experience in the use of force is key. Now, you probably also hear a lot about the choke holds, the sleeper holds that, the WWE wrestlers do. They magically grab someone's neck and they, press on the carotid artery here or there. And magically the suspect is down on the ground, safe. Our use of force policy does not include anything to do with the neck or choking out of anybody. We are not trained that way. Never in my career have I been trained to go after anybody's neck unless we are justified in using deadly force. That there's just no way that we could justify safely messing with anybody's neck. If we're going for using the neck area, then we are justified in using deadly force. Along with our baton strikes, not too often have I ever used my baton, but there are certain areas in the body that you're allowed to strike with a baton that do not cause serious or permanent injury. A lot has to do with if we have a passive resistance type person, someone who's laying in the street, someone who is chained to something that doesn't want to move. There are ways that techniques and training that we have been trained on to help facilitate them to move without damaging them or injuring them. It might cause them a little pain, discomfort. However, we get the desired results. Usually that's that they comply and it doesn't look as bad as hitting someone with a baton. There's a lot of training out there on that we've done. It's called pressure point tactic control. And most of that has to do with nerves on the body and certain points where you touch to get a certain reaction out of that particular body part. Like I said, the use of force does not happen very often, but when we do use it, our policy is a well-rounded policy. I have a copy for each and every one of you to look at. I'm not going to put it up on the screen right now because I don't think it's 8 pages long, and I just don't think it would be a good reading in a 5-minute period. But it touches on the first and most paramount reason to use force is for compliance only, and to do that as safely and effectively as possible at the lowest level of force necessary to affect your arrest or your goal of the mission to gain compliance in one way or the other. The policy had been looked at by the solicitor when it was enacted, and the policy has been gone over quite a bit. I would say by myself 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, and probably a couple of times in the past week or month or so, to make sure everything was up to snuff and compliant with what the rest of the country is doing. But is there any questions about specific?
Have any of the trainings changed, or as a result of what's been happening this summer, particularly surrounding?
Some departments, some departments, I'm speaking for mine, our policy is good. Our training, I would love to have more training. So we're going to have to maybe think out of the box and do some more type roll call training, in-house training, which, is nothing more than at the beginning of the shift, going over your policy, going over handcuffing. Even handcuffing is a use of force. You can, believe it or not, you can damage somebody's nerves pretty bad by putting handcuffs on improperly. And there have been departments out there that have been sued by this one in particular surgeon who was arrested for whatever reason, and the handcuffs were way too tight. They were in the back, and by the time they got to where they were going, his nerves were damaged to the point where he required surgery on his hands. So everything is things do change in law enforcement as anything else. I know just from, unfortunately, sometimes it takes a tragedy to enact those changes, or to get people to really look at the way they're doing things. And have met with the district attorney and the local chiefs, and have gone over what we do in this county. It's pretty much we're on the same board as far as our use of force policies and practices, and our philosophy. So we're always going to continue to keep the training up, and as new techniques do come out or new technology, we'll stay abreast of that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. The other question that I have is that I know, like with the domestic violence, sexual assault, those are policies and protocols that are county-based.
Yes.
What other trainings and protocols are county-based versus borough-based?
Okay, so MHMR protocol now is they have a task force out, and the DA just met with him last Friday. Actually, the mayor was there, our meeting, stopped in, and we talked at great length about the policy or the new protocol that's going to be coming out with MHMR and dealing with people with an emotional crisis. This county is, I would step out to say, leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of places when it comes to dealing with the MHMR issues that that we've been facing. I think the true experts are in this county when it comes to that. We have about a 94% crisis intervention training. About 94% of our officers in this county are trained, which is phenomenal. It's a week-long training course, and I know some of the county commissioner has gone to that. It would be nice if we could get a borough council member to go through that. It's a week-long course to Ferguson Township. It's very intensive training, and the officers come out well-rounded. They have a pin. Each officer who graduates wears a pin on their uniform, and actually the people out there that we have dealt with recognize that, that people that are in the system that are consumers of the MHMR on the county level, they do recognize that pin as an officer that, knows what they're talking about, and they feel at ease with those type of officers. So the MHMR protocol would be the domestic violence, and that's basically it as far as protocol. Everything else is the policies and procedures are closely related. Now, we don't all reinvent the wheel. So whenever we're all looking at a pursuit policy, we'll all get together and we'll look at a policy that might have originated on the West Coast or another department, and we'll look at it and we'll tweak it to our needs, to what we need in this area, and then everybody's then responsible to get that looked at by their solicitor and okayed and approved. So the main policies are pursuit policy, use of force, the taser policies, the body camera policy, and the domestic violence response. They're all policies that are in the child crimes against children. Those are the policies that you need to know. They happen infrequently, but when they do happen, they need to be done correctly. And if you don't do those things correctly by policy, there's a lot of price to pay. And we're quite fortunate that we haven't had that situation where we had to pay, which I attribute that to the well-roundedness and the training that we do and professionalism that these guys and girls have shown over the years.
Any other questions?
Any questions, particularly on the use of force?
Yeah, Chief, it's Randy. You know, you watch TV, you see things, you know, shows on, you know, it's supposed to be real life stuff, but what is the policy as far as once somebody's down, you have them subdued, what's the length of time they're kept on the ground?
Okay, so there's something called positional asphyxiation, okay, and excited delirium. Now, the excited delirium was a hot key word about 15, 16 years ago. So what happens, and we've had this happen in the borough, and I was on the call, and actually the person could have gone into the delirium, but it was an instance where the individual was fighting with 3 officers on a day like today. The guy was slightly overweight. He was in his mid-50s. He was drinking. He was fighting with us. And, you know, once we had to get him onto his stomach. So whenever someone's on their stomach, their chest compresses, okay? They're laying flat down. So that, and, you know, you couple that with any other problem that he's having. And then he just went, you know, 30 seconds or 40 seconds of a hard fight with, you know, 3 men. Then, you know, the excitement's there, the breathing's heavy. And as soon as he's on the ground, as soon as he's handcuffed, we like to get him right onto their back or right on their butt as soon as possible. You know, people have died in the back of police cars face down, hogtied, because of, even with their own body weight and no officer weight on them. So whenever I see officers, you know, in the middle of a fight and they handcuff them, it's always good to have that one officer in the back. Hey, you know, he's a clear head or she's a clear head, and hey, okay, get off his head or get off of his chest. Let's get him on his butt, you know, and get him up so he can get air. That's paramount, and that's a good question, Randy. Not very long. It doesn't take long for something like that to happen. It could happen in 30 seconds. It could happen in 5 seconds. So the less time that individual stays flat on their face, the better.
Thank you.
So I really can't give you a time, but it doesn't take long at all.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Sean. That was very helpful.
Sorry,
And
I
any
didn't-
other materials that you can send out to us so that we can look them and then maybe send you some questions later and maybe.
Okay. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but okay. Are we going to go into normal count?
We're going to regular council directly from here.
Okay.
So you can stop sharing the screen. We'll go back to the people screen and we'll get started. Great. I'm gonna have to turn on some lights because it's getting dark in here. Move myself.
I gotta do that too.
So I'm going to move myself to a room with lights because where I'm at right now, there are no lights. So just a second, I'll be reset. Taking the cat seat. Everybody here? To Deb.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Gina. Mike is not. Well, I'm sure he'll come back. Why don't we go ahead and get started because I don't want to
Okay.
spend all night here.
Sure.
Call this the July 6th Bellefonte Borough Council meeting to order. Prior to this meeting, we've had 2 executive sessions, one last week and one just before the work session this evening on personnel issues. We'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Flag
of the
of the
United
United
States
States
of
of America,
America and to
to
the
the
republic
republic for which it stands,
One
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Let's get- One second here. Sorry about that.
roll call, please.
Roll call. Ms. Thompson,
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey,
Here,
Ms. Walker,
Here.
Mr. Brackbill. Mr. Brackbill, he's on mute, I guess. Okay.
You're on mute.
Ms. Clayton,
Here,
Mr. Eaton,
Here.
Ms. Humboski,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Prendergast.
I'm here.
Okay. Mayor Wilson, I may be joining us later. I know he was out of town, maybe coming in late.
okay.
He's in Iowa, I think,
Yes,
on the road.
okay.
I need a motion to approve the minutes of June 15th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Mike,
second it.
Mike and Deb.
Oops, I'm sorry about that.
Any changes? Seeing none? Ralph?
I'm sorry. Can I make a suggestion?
Uh-huh.
If we do a vote and we hear no nays, can we decide that it's a unanimous vote?
I think that's excellent.
I like that idea.
Okay.
A little quicker.
How about
All right, we'll try
are there any nays? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Go a little bit quicker that way.
Yes.
Consent agenda. We have one item, the invoice from Stover McLaughlin.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice from Stover McLaughlin.
I'll second it.
Was that Prendergast?
Yeah.
Brackbill and Prendergast. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to the regular agenda, written communications.
First item is a letter or a summary of the Center County Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting, which was held June 23rd. I just looked it over. It gave some updates. I did see a council member from Howard Borough passed away. That particular member was actually involved in our Center County Boroughs Association efforts. You know, he attended some of those early meetings, so I was sorry to hear that. I don't know, Doug, did you want to add anything?
Just the next, well, y'all can read the notes, but the next technical committee meeting is July 15th. And the coordinated committee meeting, which is what I'm on, is August 4th. But we're still working on the tip for 21-24, and the long range transportation plan hasn't been etched in stone. Even by September, it'll still be open for suggestions. That's about it, I think. Well, I don't know. Do you want the report? They did send out today the improvement project for I-99. Is that something you want to hear now, Joanne?
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
It was just started today. They're repaving from the Bellefonte Exchange on Interstate 99 southbound to Pleasant Gap exit. So that'll be down to one lane for the next 4 weeks. They're resurfacing the concrete highway, converting it to Amosite. So that will be a traffic tie-up of some sort. And that's part of the, well, it's really not part of the project, but of the new interchange that's going to be developed for the I-99 and Interstate 80 high-speed interchange. So it's the start.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Doug? Okay, next, Ralph.
Okay. Next item, we received an email request to use Governor's Park ball field for a charity baseball tournament. It's called the 4th Annual Dylan Krunick Memorial Charity Baseball Tournament. They're looking at August 8th and August 9th. And the letter just said, you know, it is all charity event. And, you know, money goes towards various causes, research for cancer and some other items related to that. And we're just asking for your approval or your consideration, and with conditions. We explained that we have been adding conditions to any requests for using a park there.
Okay, so I need a motion to conditionally allow the 4th Annual Dylan Krunick Memorial Charity Baseball Tournament at Governor's Park on August 8th and 9th with the following conditions. Following all of Governor Wolf's COVID-19 guidelines for baseball games, including sanitizing, masking, and limiting the number of spectators to no more than 2 people per person who are out on the ball field, with no more than a maximum of 90 people total. And all games and practices scheduled will have a 15-minute buffer between to prevent overlapping of participants. They will be coordinating games with any other groups that are already scheduled. They would pay to repair any ball field damage if that should occur, and designating Bellefonte Borough on their liability policy.
I'll make that motion.
Deb?
I'll second Haboski.
Okay, discussion. Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And so Ralph, when you send this note out, if they can't keep the spectators below, they need to understand that we can shut them down at any time.
Understood. Could we get your notes on that, Joanne?
Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
yeah, it took me a while to find all of that stuff.
Yes,
this afternoon.
yes. No doubt. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Next item here is a reappointment request from Center County Library and Historical Museum Board. They're requesting the appointment or the reappointment of Justin Miller, board member. He would fill a term that would expire December 31st, 2022.
Okay, could I have some,
Justin Miller.
Back-
Library, so.
Brackbill and Prendergast?
Prendergast.
Okay. I have a question, and it's a question I asked last week and the answer wasn't known at that time. Has he filled out the volunteer application form?
Yes, it's in the packet.
I thought it was
Okay.
completed.
Okay. I'm fine.
That's all right.
I didn't have time to read absolutely everything. I came close.
That's fine. It's a lot of material. No problem at all.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve Justin Miller to through December 31st, 2020. Any further discussion or questions?
I'll make the motion, but the date was until, I thought it was until 12/31/2022.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's, okay.
Yeah, then I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Sorry.
I thought we already did that.
We did.
Brackbill and Prendergast.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Next.
Next, I'm looking to see if Kevin Lloyd has joined us. I don't see him here. Let me sort of summarize this. Obviously, he along with the YMCA had the pop-up drive-in out at the Armory property a couple weekends ago. And the first night, Friday night, was very successful. I know some of you members of council were there. I happened to be there as well. Very successful Friday night, but Saturday night and even Sunday night were too windy. They had trouble with the high 40, 50-foot screen in the air. Just couldn't handle the amount of wind that night. So they canceled those evenings and they liked the event. It was an all charity fundraiser for the YMCA. They're raising and distributing food during these unprecedented times. So they would like to do it again. And what Kevin wanted to see is the use of Governor's Park, the mini soccer field right next to the fancy baseball field, adjacent to the pavilions and the block restroom there in that area. He wants to see if we could use that area for a pop-up drive-in the last weekend in July, and then possibly Labor Day weekend or thereabouts. He could bump it one way or the other. It'd be like a Friday, Saturday type of thing. The screen would be near the tree line. We have the trees towards, I'll say, the south. I believe it would be the south side of the ball field, and cars would park actually on the field. It'd be a little bit wider area. Then you'd have the bank where up by the pool, people could set in their cars and that kind of thing. We could use the circle thing if it was wet, like they've done in Talleyrand Park. If the ground was too wet, they could do the circle thing where you stay inside your circle if we wouldn't want cars on the field for whatever reason. But
I
anyway,
assume you're talking about the dots that BHCA did.
yes, that's what I'm talking about. Sorry about that. But yeah, the same idea for their concert type of thing that they did just this past weekend. But in a nutshell, they would do the same thing. They'd have food trucks there. They'd provide the liability coverage, do the same sponsor, YMCA and all that.
I thought they said they were going to choose a separate nonprofit in the borough.
I think they talked it over. They really want to help the Y with the food drive, and Y provides volunteers, so they have a good partnership. That's what they're proposing.
Okay. So we would need let me look at the dates real quick. So we're talking about, July 24th and 25th, or the 31st and 1st?
I think the 31st and 1st.
Okay, July 31, August 1, and then we're talking about the 29th and 30th, or are we going to the 4th and 5th of September? Because Labor Day is not until the 7th.
It'd probably be the 4th or 5th, whatever that Friday, Saturday be, of Labor Day weekend. But
Okay, September 4th and 5th. Yeah. Okay. So I need a motion to conditionally approve the 2nd and 3rd pop-up drive-in with the similar 250 maximum person spectator capacity, similar to the setups that we had for the original.
I'll make that motion.
Prendergast,
I'll second it.
Deb,
Yeah.
okay, Clayton. And so that if they do the dots, that would have to be set up. You could end up with more than 250 people if they're cars. You can't if they're sitting outdoors. So you
okay,
need to know that.
we'll certainly convey that. I'm sure they'll be watching, what's happening in the state and everything, the county, as we get closer.
Yeah. Discussion? I'd like to be able to have the Parks Committee to go out and with Kevin to look it over and help them set up the settings so that the committee feels comfortable about how the setup is going to go.
That's an excellent idea. He's
That's good.
very much interested in working with everybody on this.
Sounds great to me.
So with the Parks Committee review. Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, moving on.
Next item is just an update on the 2020 census process. There's quite a process. We started looking at this a year or so ago. I'm just going to turn it over to Joanne since you're very much involved. And if you want to summarize
Okay.
the data.
What's nice about this is that what they did is they listed all the different communities in Center County. The national average is 62% response. Bellefonte is at 70%, which is great. We still need to get to 100% if at all possible, which means we still need to do some outreach. And the most recent one we did, and Don may be able to fill in a little bit on this, was that we created some 3 cuts with messages from the mayor and myself saying that we're going to be delivered to all of the food vendors, and then whenever they had takeout or curbside delivery, this would be inserted inside their packages, so that remind people if they haven't already filled out the census to please go online, has the link to the website. Come July 31st, anybody who has not yet filled out will be visited by a census enumerator. So if you don't want anybody in your house because of COVID-19, fill out your census before then.
Could we possibly use the emergency robocall?
Yeah, I mean, there is a cost involved. I don't know if we, want to, it's not a whole lot of money, but yes, we could do that.
Do we still have money left, Don, to do that?
We have money. I'm not sure that's an eligible expense, but I could check on it.
Okay. That would be helpful. Thank you. Okay, that's all I have.
All right, the next item is a information or a letter from the Sustainability Communities Collaborative Partnership of Penn State program that we've been working with for a number of years. Ilona Baldrich sent us information looking for thoughts and ideas for this coming fall semester, and any thoughts or feedback on the police barracks or the location of the police office at the Armory property. If anybody would like those presentations, she can make sure you get them. So there's a couple of things there in the letter, but probably most importantly is any thoughts or ideas for the fall semester.
Yeah, I'd like to refer this to the Environment and Sustainability Committee to review in light of the greenhouse gas plan that we'll be seeing at our next session, and looking at the suggestions for Iona, and so we can give her some more complete feedback.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is just a letter in regard to the Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month, which is September. I didn't want to hold the information until August. Just put it on the radar. They're asking the municipalities to pass a resolution, and then the events that are taking place in September in helping people be aware of the situation. What we can do is, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we'll try to keep it, in August, we can schedule the resolution for action by council.
I was thinking we could have either resolution or a proclamation. I think it could be done either way.
Sure.
To be presented at the second meeting in August, which gets us close to September.
Yeah.
And that way it's in the minds of other
Yes.
public.
All right. I do have a couple items that came in today, actually. I sent a couple out, and I think there's a third one that just came in by email a little while ago. And one of them is actually on the agenda later on. It's about the car cruise, and it's really not, well, let me go over what they say here. So, looking at a smaller event just on Friday, September 11th. And you can ask questions once. I think Pat McCool may be joining us. I sent him a link. Again, I don't see him here, but I did send him.
Why don't we wait and see if he shows up?
Okay, we can do that. Let me skip that one, then I'll come back. The other one was a request from Downtown Bellefonte Incorporated, basically in regard to forming a partnership to use the little pocket park next to the general store, which is now Mike Cafe or Mike.
My Buzz Cafe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It
You know,
keeps
it's a little parklet there. We've looked at when the previous owner was there. You know, there was a lengthy work on a lease that we didn't come to fruition by signing it or anything. But anyway, BBI is interested in looking and using that space in some kind of cooperative effort.
So can we refer that again to the Parks and Rec Committee for review? Because just like you said, I think it's going to need a legal contract that we would need to figure out what needs to be in and talk to the solicitor.
Sure. Okay, so like I said, we'll come back to the cruise one. The other one is an email from Phil and Kathy
Breidenball.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
They're interested in doing the outdoor seating like they did this previous Friday in the font, and the new date would be July 31st. They want to again get permission to do the same seating that they did here a couple weeks ago, or a week or so ago. So that's the gist of the request, just to redo it again.
On Friday, okay, on Friday,
Yep.
July 31st.
Yes. Yep.
So I need a motion to repeat the Friday in the Font outdoor dining on Friday, July 31st from 5 to 11 p.m.
Something like that, yes.
I'll make that motion, Habaski.
Seconded, Prendergast.
with the same conditions as last time.
Yes.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of holding this on July 31st with the same conditions as we had last month? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, moving on.
That's all I have underwritten.
Okay, then next we're moving on to Cindy and her CNET presentation.
Hello, good evening. I'd like to share my screen. I don't know if Ralph, if you need to enable that.
I thought mine says multiple participants, so hopefully.
Okay.
There you go.
Am I up there? Okay.
You're up there.
Terrific, terrific. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I know you have a lot on your plate in difficult times, so I appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. The board representative for Bellefonte Borough to the CNET Board of Directors is Don Holderman, and so of course he is here as well, joining me. Just to briefly review for you some of the highlights in 2019, our little staff and our gang of interns produced 478 programs last year. We had, the board had adopted a strategic plan for 2017 through 2019. And so that plan was completed and implemented and finalized last year. So we'll be looking toward the possibility of developing a new one later this year. At the beginning of 2019, the Center Region Parks and Recreation Authority became a CNET member, and we began covering those authority meetings. And then UAJA, which is the University Area Joint Authority, voted to become a CNET member, and they became a member in January of 2020. So I do want to just take this opportunity to just remind everyone that it's only been a few years now that CNET has been allowing authorities to become member organizations. So if you know of an authority, whether it's your Walker Spring, Benner Authority or your water authority that you think might benefit from CNET membership, please do realize that they are now eligible to become member organizations. Very importantly, the franchise agreement between Comcast and the 8 municipalities of the CAC, the Center Area Cable Consortium, was finalized by the CAC in November of 2019 and signed by Comcast in January of 2020. You've probably heard this, I'm sure, from Joanne for the latter probably about 3 years, as long as this took. But the franchise includes some very, very important things. There is now a subscriber pass-through of 22 cents per month per subscriber that will provide the funding needed for CNET's capital and equipment purchases. This really is so important for the member organizations because essentially what it means is that the members do not need to contribute anything to our capital. They only need to provide operating costs. So this really does a lot towards stabilizing member dues going forward. The municipalities, such as Bellefonte Borough, will continue to receive the full amount, the 5% of Comcast gross revenue within their municipality, which is the most that you can receive by law. So that's wonderful. That was retained in this franchise. The franchise provides for 3 additional remote origination points, which is simply locations from which we can televise live. The new ROPs will need to be paid for jointly by CNET and the member organization. That's a little bit of change from the last franchise. And finally, we will continue to have access to the Comcast digital guide to display our programming. So when the time slot is there for Bellefonte Borough and someone tunes to channel 7, it will say Bellefonte Borough Council. Most PEG organizations in the country do not have access to that digital guide. So that was important to us to maintain that.
That was one of the hardest pieces to get in the contract.
You know, they do not want to set a precedent so that every PEG station in the country comes to them and says, well, you gave it to CNET. So they're very protective about it. So we kind of keep it on the quiet side, but yeah, we did get it. Just to review your programming in 2019, the borough sponsored a total of 25 programs, 24 of your council meetings, and then 1 Spring Creek Watershed Commission meeting. There were no bulletin board messages. The council had made the decision to cease posting agendas on the bulletin board. I think the last year you did that was 2014. So the total sponsorship is 25 programs, and that is right around 4.9% of all of the programs that we produced last year. Your percentage of sponsorship the year before in 2018 had been right at 5%. So it's a very stable level of sponsorship. This graph shows you the past 5 years, and you can see you're hovering right between 23 and I guess 25.5 programs, but your sponsorship does not vary a great deal. In the years between 2015 and 2019, and that's important because our funding formula looks at a 5-year period of time, the borough sponsored 4.89% of all of our programming by all of our members. And again, in the 5-year period before that, 2014 to 2018, that level of sponsorship was 5%. So again, very, very stable sponsorship. And this graph shows you all of our members, and the red arrow there is pointing down to Bellefonte Borough. I believe that Bellefonte Borough's sponsorship, I think at this point, your sponsorship is probably the smallest of the 7 municipalities that are members. So you can see where you are. State College Borough is the largest user of our services, with county government in 2nd place. So the way that we determine what your contribution, your financial contribution will be for the following year is we look at this 5-year period of time. And so your 2021 financial contribution to CNET is going to be determined based on the sponsorship that you do between 2015 and 2019. And that's why that 5-year period of time is so important. Just some quick reminders about where to watch us. Of course, the Bellefonte Borough Council meetings and work sessions have a sort of a set schedule. For example, the first airing after your Monday night meeting is Wednesday at 10 p.m. Now, I have this note down here with those other air times with question marks, because if your meeting is under 2 hours long, it will air twice within your scheduled block. So it is entirely possible that the Wednesday 10 p.m. is also going to air, Thursday morning at 12 a.m. But again, the meeting has to be less than 2 hours. And because you're having work sessions televised, that's kind of rare these days. But the additional airings would be Friday at 2 a.m., Saturday morning at 8 a.m., and Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. Of course, we are now streaming your meetings live on YouTube. The YouTube channel is CNET Center County. And we do post that link to the live stream on Twitter and Facebook in advance of every meeting. And then we send it to Borough Administration for inclusion on the meeting agenda. On our website, cnet1.org, the programs are kept there to view on demand for a minimum of 12 months. And I hope all of you know that we chapter those by agenda items. So people go back and maybe they only want to watch the budget discussion. They just click on that link and they're taken right to that point in the meeting. We are available to view on the Roku box or the streaming stick, and Apple TV. Just about 5 or 6 weeks ago, we became available on Apple TV, only on the set-top box. People would simply search the Apple TV App Store for CNET, but it is not available on cell phones. It is only the Apple TV box. As many of you know, cable companies will not give us their viewing data. They consider it proprietary. And so I'm not ever able to give you the number of television views. I really wish I could. What I can give you, of course, is the online viewing data. So I made this, went back into the Google Analytics, and I looked at the period of both January through December of 2019, in which you had an average of 101.4 views per meeting online, with the median being 98.5. And then I took a look at this year in the period of January through May of 2020, and both of those went up a little bit. 106.5 is the average for each meeting, and the median is 101. So I think those are pretty good online viewing figures for Bellefonte Borough. I was pretty happy to see that. I believe that is the end of the presentation. I know that I threw a lot of information and data at you, but I'll be happy to take any questions if you would like.
Cindy, are these numbers on this page that's showing up right now, are those just going to the CNET link, or is that including YouTube and the other streaming?
Right. No, it is not. It is not including YouTube. These are strictly views on cnet1.org. Now, the cnet1.org numbers, because of the way everything is hooked together, are going to include Roku and Apple TV, but they're not going to include YouTube. So I did this evening, I was preparing something for my board meeting next week, and I was looking at the number of people who seem to be watching your meetings on YouTube. The numbers are really small right now. It's 10 people, 12 people, 15 people. They're not really large numbers yet on YouTube. I think as time goes by and more people know that's an option, those will likely increase. They're relatively small right now, but yeah, I didn't give those to you in this report, but yeah, I did look at them earlier tonight.
Thank you. Other questions? So can you tell for the public's purpose, what are the next steps now that we have this information?
What is the what? I'm sorry.
We have this information, what's next?
Oh, nothing. This is just your annual. No action is required of you. This is simply your annual update. Just to give you an opportunity to ask any questions about, your programming stats, to look at how if your programming is basically fairly consistent or if it's, all over the place. And one reason that we have a 5-year funding formula is it allows a municipality, for an example, to have, for whatever reason, a really heavy year where they have to add meetings in and they have to have special meetings, and that allows them to have that kind of heavy year without their dues being increased all at once. So the 5-year funding formula really is a smoothing device so that the funding is sort of consistent.
So one of the issues we have here in the borough is concerns about people's lack of knowledge of HARB, the
Okay.
Historic Architectural Review Board. If we were to do, how would it be plausible? Would that be a separate subscription to hold those meetings, or would we just add them on to the borough and have them part of our regular subscription for those?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first step would be, contacting us and seeing if there's a date that we would be able to, add some kind of special presentation. And at that point, your council would presumably approve it, and we'll certainly be happy to do that for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none,
Looking good.
we'll move on.
Thank you,
Great. Thank you
Cindy.
so much.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thanks. Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Do we have any public comment or anybody was going to call in?
No, like I said, I was expecting Kevin Lloyd and Pat McCool. We'll have to see if they join us later.
Okay. If they're here when the agenda item comes up, we'll let them speak.
Okay.
Doesn't it look like the mayor came in? Do we have anything that we know? Sean, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Bellefonte Elks. They presented the department with a $1,000 check this past week for anything that we would need equipment-wise or personal protective gear. I'd like to thank the public in general, as in the last couple of weeks, in light of what's been going on in the country, some of the negativity out there. With law enforcement and with the COVID things going on, we've gotten a lot of cards, well wishes, and some people stopping. I'm not condoning it or I'm not asking for this, but they've stopped and given us some donut cards or brought us coffee, and so the public has really reached out, and the townspeople have really shown their support once again for us. Appreciate it.
Sounds nice. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Moving on, I guess it's my turn. On the first item on my report is the Pennsylvania Municipal League Sustainability Conference. That was held virtually on June 24th. There were 4 items in the program that day. The first one, Jim Price from Sustainability PA said that the Sustainability Certification Program, which we've been looking into possibly becoming certified at, is being updated, and the new certification guidelines will be effective on January 1st, 2021. Second was the Army Corps of Engineers did a 20 or 30 minute long presentation on how they can help with waterways throughout Pennsylvania. Most of them are for the larger waterways like the Allegheny River or the Susquehanna River. But they do have one program that would help with smaller waters like Spring Creek. They said that they can help us for free to look at mitigation of built environments associated with climate change and risk due to flooding, but they cannot actually help with the recommended construction. If we're interested, we'd need to send a letter of interest to the district's deputy engineer, and PML, Pennsylvania Municipality, has sample letters we could use to create those letters of interest. The third item was a 40-minute presentation by the Center Region Council of Governments presenting their greenhouse gas plan. They had some good ideas from their plan that I thought we might be able to look at once we get ours, that included a climate action commission to help implement the plan. And this could consist of representatives from businesses, residents, local and county government, and the planning office and commission, plus maybe someone from the local utility company and or our water sewage authority. The fourth and final item for the day was a presentation on health, well-being, place, and the role of government. This was a presentation given by a psychiatrist representing the Pennsylvania Psychiatric Leadership Council. And basically, he discussed issues that I think Sean would be interested in issues of overdosing, alcoholism, and suicide that is often a result of poverty, racism, gender discrimination, and gender identity issues. That entire conference, I did get a recording of it sent to me. So if anyone is interested in it, let me know and I'll forward up the link so you can sit through about 5-6 hours worth of a conference.
Sounds like fun to me.
I thought it was really well. I'm very impressed with the Municipal League Sustainability Program. Don and I have gone to them for the last 3 or 4 years, and they always have very good programming. The next was the following Tuesday, June 30th. Madeline Palchett, she's a student at Drexel University, and I did a 15-minute virtual presentation before the DEP Climate Change Advisory Committee. Madeline is the intern that was hired by DEP last summer to work with the borough to create a proposed greenhouse gas plan for the borough. The presentations stepped the advisory committee through the process we used. It wasn't the actual plan, but just what the process was, because they're interested in doing a similar program next year with 20 more municipalities. They wanted to see what the process was, how it went, and what we thought of it. Most of the work was done by Madeline. She started late August of 2019. She worked with Don in the gathering of the climate data during the fall of 2019. And then starting in January, we created a climate change task force made up of myself, Don, the Center County Planning Office, a local resident, and a business owner, which then we created a written survey that went out to the community. We had over a 50% response back, which is unheard of. Usually if you get 3 to 5% on a survey, you're doing well. To get that much back on a survey, I think is really, really good. And then from that, we created a focus group to flesh out the responses that came in from the survey to understand more thoroughly what people were saying. We are waiting for the written report. It should be here within the next week or so. As soon as that comes in, we're going to hold the sustainability committee so we can look at and see if there's any things that we want to say. And then at the next meeting, the work session, Madeline will be presenting the plan to council for us to review and accept.
We do that in the meeting with the sustainability with
Well, we may have a preliminary meeting with the sustainability committee before that, but that particular presentation will be done before the entire council in a regular work session.
all right.
And she's already agreed that. She actually ended her internship at the end of June, but she was And she's got a summer internship somewhere else now, but was so happy to work with us that she agreed to come back to do this presentation at the end of July. The next thing, and I just mentioned this, is that that'll be the July 20th council meeting work session. That's my report. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Building and property.
Okay, I'm given to understand that Building and Properties Committee will meet to discuss reduced parking rate requests from the YMCA and when we should reinstate normal parking rates. Am I correct in that?
You're correct.
Okay.
So we need to so please set up a doodle.
Yeah, we'll need a doodle poll,
Okay,
I believe.
sure.
Thank you.
Problem.
So I'm going to move the sock hop down to old business.
Okay.
Hopefully he'll show up.
Yes.
So next is Environmental and Sustainability Committee.
Yeah, the climate action plan, I really I believe you guys did that on
We don't have it yet.
okay. Well, who's
It's
where are we getting that from?
Madeline Palchad is supposed to be sending it to us as soon as DEP signs off on it. I'm hoping it will be the beginning of, by the end of this week.
All right, so we can discuss it then.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
There's also, and I sent this to you this morning, we got a email from Mike Ewald with Energy Justice. He's the consultant who said he would be willing to work with us on the air pollution ordinance. He sent a very detailed, broken down cost basis for multiple different ways we could handle doing the updating the ordinance. And so I think we need to look through it. And he said he could come in on the call if we have any questions. So he's had like 6 different tasks. One of them was a free service at the end, so that once the end, and what I liked about that was that if there was any legal calls after we created the ordinance, they would do be our litigator for free.
Question.
Yeah.
Who's driving this committee, and what's the expense to the borough?
That's what we're going to be talking about. The expense of we've had this on the agenda for about 3 years, and each year we put it on the wish list, and then because of the cost, we've said not this year. So at the end of this, I said, look, what you're offering is a little too. I think it was $10,000 for the full package last year, and we said we can't afford that. We just don't have that kind of money. So I asked him to break it down into smaller pieces. So looking at what we might want to focus on first, second, third, if we're going to do this, and then bring that before council and then put it in for next year's budget. So at this point, I don't have the actual numbers, just his general idea of what the different task force items are. And it would cover, we're looking at what we currently have, the concerns we've had about fire pits, the emissions from smokestacks, and anything else that we might have come up in a discussion. But
What smokestacks do we have in the borough?
Right now we have right now the ones I know of are at the Wetzler's, which we would never stop. That's grandfathered in. I just want to make that clear. But it's like for any future ones that come in, how we might control the emissions from those. We also have some stacks over at the, I don't know if they're being used or not, over at the limestone plant.
I don't think we have any room in the budget this year for this. So I don't want you to waste your time doing it.
Well, we'll look at it and see what happens.
Okay, well,
And then this part, and they want to have it included in looking at what the greenhouse gas proposal looks at, so that this all fits together. We're not doing a shotgun event. It's a planned program.
I still don't understand what drove this.
We've had complaints, and Mike, you can back me up on this. We've had complaints about the fire pits. We've had complaints about the dust from the lime dust plant. We've had some other concerns, and as a result of that, we thought we needed to go back and look at our 40-plus-year-old air pollution ordinance, which we haven't been enforcing for at least 25 years.
Okay, we can eliminate the fire pits real easy. Just stop the friendship fires. And, and I don't think the lime company's in business anymore. So you're down to crematory. Mike, what are the complaints you're getting?
smoke from these damn fire pits is the biggest one.
Well, we solved that by eliminating them.
Okay. You might get some feedback from the community on that, but I'm for it. I don't think.
I don't see what the big difference is, what the big deal is sending this to committee. Like, how does it affect anyone negatively to talk about it in a committee?
I don't either.
It's a committee's time.
Doug, honestly, like, I don't care about the police oversight committee, but I'm letting you do your thing. Like, I don't see what the big deal is.
And we are getting paid so much for this. I mean, it's really a big hole in our budget for the meeting.
Now, let's move on.
Thanks.
You want me to bring up the next item?
Yeah,
This is just a FYI, last meeting or two, we talked about a couple of street issues. And we said we would contact the LTAP program, part of PennDOT. And I just wanted to leave council know that was done. I have not heard back from them as far as when they'll be contacting me, or I know in the past, so we usually do come on site, look things over. As soon as I hear something, I'll let you know when that can be. And, you're welcome to be part of the meeting when they come in.
Ralph, if you could let me know about that, I'd definitely like to be
Sure.
there.
Absolutely, Deb. Yep. The next item is just our daily water withdrawal report for June. And, it's we usually include that as general information.
do you want to tell us why we had that one super high day on the Corning pipe?
I don't know. Do you know, Ralph?
I don't know. I don't know for sure. I usually when I see high numbers, I assume there was a leak.
Was that discussed at our last authority meeting, the leak?
It might have been, Doug. We I hate to say it, but we have leaks quite often.
I know. Well, we
This
have
was This was a big one, about 1 million gallons.
We have big ones too.
Tomorrow night we have a authority meeting, so it will definitely be asked.
Okay.
We'll find out.
That information would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, tomorrow night's that a meeting, so we'll have more information.
Okay. Moving on to, there's no zoning and planning, so moving
I
on
have
to,
one thing.
yep.
Safety. I just want to remind everybody that Gary Lohr officially took over a position of Bellefonte Fire Chief. Bellefonte Fire Chief as of 7/1. So he's on board. There'll be a meeting this month, the 4th Thursday. We're not sure yet where it's going to be held. That's it.
Okay. Are you thinking of doing an in-person or a virtual?
They don't have the means to do it virtual, so it'll probably be
In person.
We'll be there in person. So we're trying to find a place. I think we have an idea of a place where we can provide the space needed for people to do the distancing and things like that.
Okay. Anything else? from any of the council members?
I have something that kind of ties in with building and property. Last February, I think the Streets Committee looked at the parking code that still is showing the old rates. Like 25 cents an hour. And I was wondering if that section of the code, I think it's 530-52, could be updated to reflect what the new rates will be, so that when all the meters are installed and the rates, we start collecting rates again, that everything will be on the same playing field. And I think there was one meter color we were eliminating.
We can revisit that. We've gone to the fee schedule for virtually all of our fees. We just update annually. There are some old numbers in the ordinances that probably should be deleted at some point.
So could we have a meeting to do those edits on the meter ordinance? And then we could actually amend the fee schedule to just say that we're moving them over from the old to the new system.
Okay.
Or, I guess this overlaps a little bit. Building and property was doing some meter work and numbers and, which committee do you want this to go to? Street or?
I remember that we kind of touched on it in February with streets.
Okay.
And I didn't know whether it was specifically one committee or the other.
Okay.
And this has been flopping between the two.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one quick thing. I've received a couple of resident complaints from the for the coming into town and the signage at the gas station coming into town, the banners that are up.
Those flapping banners?
Yep. I mean, I know we've brought it up before in council, but if, I don't know, just mentioning it because it was mentioned to me, so.
That coming up from Zion.
No, it was coming into town from State College.
I think if you're on Mill Street coming in from Axman Road, when you get to that intersection by the gas station on Water Street, if you look to your left, your view is blocked by those vertical banners, so you can't see oncoming traffic.
Yeah,
Problem.
there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
We can
There are a
send
lot
them.
of them. Yeah, it should be an easy fix too.
Well, we can review the ordinance. It does allow for temporary banners but we'll review it and send the property owner a letter.
Maybe if
it's-
they're moved back from the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a limit on banners? Like per,
I think there may be.
because I think they have about 15 now. They're multiplying
Okay.
like rabbits.
Rabbits.
All right.
And some of them are in a very poor state. So I don't know if it's time to look at the ordinance. I know that I've heard other complaints about businesses in the downtown who employ them to a degree that is distracting.
I know this came up when we had Nancy Perkins on the call here just a couple meetings ago. Banners were mentioned. We councils wrestled with banners. So pretty soon I know we're going to get into that as part of the signage ordinance updates.
All right, those feather banners are cheaper and cheaper. They just manufacture them and they're gaining in popularity. So I think that we'll continue to see them, and I'm sure that our ordinance doesn't cover them because they are relatively new.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the other thing we might want to look is, I know the ordinance says they can be up from, these are considered to be temporary signage, and it's a maximum of 30 days.
Right.
And those have been there much longer than 30 days.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell you how long they have to take them down to put them up another 30 days.
No, that's what happens, Randy. They could take them down a day and put them up the next day or thereabouts.
I can see in addition to the ordinance for that, just
That there be a
take it
break.
down for a month.
Yeah.
Okay. So who should we send that to? After you send the letter.
Well, who was working on the banners and signage prior to this? Was it?
It's been the design committee. We haven't, the Harb is the one that's been doing signage stuff, but it hasn't been any council committee.
I think I would send it to streets.
I thought we had an ad hoc committee, Joanne. You and
We
I.
could do ad hoc, or we could do it streets.
Well, yeah, we do have the ad hoc committee that Doug's talking about that was going to look at ordinances and review.
Why don't we send it there then?
Okay.
So doodle for the Randy, Doug, and Joanne show.
Okay.
Bring your own banners.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, moving on to Harb then. We need a motion to approve the fencing around the fuel tank and dock bollards with a reflective band following administrative approval of a darker fence color with a possible forward texture at 217 North Allegheny Street, which is the Verizon building, and the paint and color scheme and roof work at 224 West Main Street.
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
make the motion. I'll second it.
Okay, Brackbill, Brackbill and Eaton. Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Old business. We have the resolution for the mobile food vendor regulations. So in order to discuss this, we need a motion to remove it from the table. Then once we needed that, then we needed a motion to move it for passage.
I'll move it. I'll make a motion to move it from table. Brackbill.
I'll second that.
Brackbill and Clayton, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, one, so we did have a nay on there, Ralph, so you do need to do a roll call, which what we
All right.
agreed.
Sure. Let me find my sheet here. Ms. Thompson,
Yay.
Ms. Tosti Vasey,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Brackbill,
Aye.
Ms. Cleaton,
Aye.
Mr. Eaton,
I'm reading,
You're not coming through.
yeah, I heard.
I know, I'm not, I'm coming, I was reading this before and I thought I had an objection because there seemed to be a carve out.
So you need, this vote right now is, do you want to take it off the table for discussion? That's all we're doing at this point. Yes or no?
For discussion, yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
okay.
Okay, so, all right, Ms. Hombosky,
No,
Mr. Johnson,
Yeah, we're taking it off the table so we can rediscuss it.
Right.
I vote to get it off the table so we can rediscuss it. Yes, my vote is yay.
Mr. Prendergast,
Aye.
the yeas have it.
Okay, so now we need a motion for passage.
Don't we want, I thought we were gonna discuss it.
Yeah, we've taken it off the table. I'm saying we're asking for a motion for passage so you can discuss it.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the vendor regulations.
I'll
Okay.
second that motion.
Okay, that was Brackbill and Johnson.
I know we had to talk about this, and I know the way it ended up having High Street tagged as not having mobile vendors. And the only issue there was down at the bridge. And I think that may have worked itself out with the new restaurants that have gone in there, no matter what time of their opening, their businesses are still there. And looking around the last couple of weekends, everybody seems to have their spots around town, somewhere out, outside of downtown, but close to Bellefonte, coming in or going out. You see them, there's probably 3 going up towards State College. There's at least 2 or 3 going out towards Zion. I don't know about going toward Malmesbury, but those seem to be the 2 hot spots. I'm not sure if it's as big an issue as we may have thought it was when we originally got the complaint, because I think there was more opportunities than down by the bridge. I think that's where the main problem was.
I agree with Randy. I haven't seen any vendors downtown since then.
Are they still setting up over at the Match Factory in that parking
Yeah.
lot?
Yes, we don't regulate what
Right.
happens on private property.
Right. I just wondered if they were still down there because that is closer to the park and downtown.
Yeah.
In the second whereas, it says the Bellefonte Borough has determined that it is in the best interest of the borough, its residents, and its taxpayers. I do not believe it's in the best interest, especially when those residents and taxpayers are mobile food vendors. So I vote nay.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of passing resolution 2020-706-1, mobile food vending, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
Okay.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, you got to do a roll call.
Yeah. Ms. Thompson,
Nay.
Ms. Tosti Vasey,
Nay.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Brackbill,
Nay.
Ms. Cleaton,
Aye.
Mr. Eaton,
Nay.
Ms. Hombowski,
Nay.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Prendergast.
Aye.
The nays have it.
5-4. Okay, so that one fails.
Okay.
That one failed.
Next item is rescheduling the yard sale and bulk waste pickup. I didn't have any dates that I knew about.
I didn't have any either. I know we talked about sometime in September. Of course, everything would be conditional upon, we have the people here, our crews are back and forth. There's no, with the COVID-19 restrictions, we feel comfortable doing everything, but at least wanted to try to get something on the schedule. And I know a lot of things are up in the air. Normally you got to work around Penn State football games. Even that's up in the air this year.
I thought we had a date for the community yard sale in September or August. In August.
I think we said in August or July, August, we would set a date.
All right. Well, I've got it down here as the 14th and 15th for the yard sale and riffraff the following week.
Oh, I don't recall that, but we might have done that.
I may have just put it in there because that was what was bannered about at the meeting.
Okay.
August 14th to 15th, and the bulk waste stop would be on what?
From the 17th to the 21st.
Okay, so can we have a motion to hold? Go ahead.
I wouldn't say those are set in stone. I mean, if anybody's got any other suggestions, I don't know where I got these dates.
Yeah.
That's what I have written down.
My thought is it might be better in September because it's a little cooler and people are hauling stuff out to their sidewalk. We won't have heat exhaustion from somebody who's having to hit a 90-degree day in August.
Well, and even our
Yes.
personnel, the personnel that we have loading things, it could be very dangerous in August.
Yeah. So Doug, what were you going to say?
I was going to ask our borough manager, how are we with staff?
Well, we'll have full staff back July 27th. So we should be okay, barring any strange events, we go back into a red phase or something like that.
I agree with you. Heat stress is a big factor, so.
Yeah.
I think that
And I like September too. I just thought somebody else had made these dates. I just wrote them down.
Yes, John.
I guess I would favor more towards the end of September.
Yeah.
Then if we do have any students or anything moving in, they will have all of their stuff that they don't want. And we can get rid of all that stuff at that time too.
Yeah.
So I sort of like the end of September, maybe even early October.
I agree.
I agree with that.
Sounds good to me.
So we would be talking if it's September the 24th and 25th, or October the 25th and 26th, or October 2nd and 3rd, or October 9th and 10th.
I know we don't know the football season. Are they non-home football game weekends? I'm just thinking about the garage sale, that's all.
Not sure. Dawn, do you have the schedule?
Yeah.
Not handy, Ralph, but they are playing Northwestern the week of the 26th. That's all I know.
Okay, so is that here?
I don't know that.
Don, bring that schedule up, come on.
They are here on the 26th.
Okay, so we don't want to do that weekend.
They're away on the 12th and they're away on the 3rd, and they're home all the rest in between.
Okay, so we would want to do it the 2nd and 3rd of October then.
3rd of October.
That would be best for the yard sale weekend. I don't know if you want folks, maybe it would be good for folks coming to town to see the yard sale. That might be visiting our bed and breakfast. I don't know.
There's a Michigan game on 10/3, and they're at Michigan and Northwestern at Penn State on 9/26.
Okay, so if we set it for the 2nd and 3rd for the yard sale, then the bulk pickup will be the 5th through the 8th, is that correct?
Yes, I think so.
5th through the 9th.
Through the 9th, okay. So do we have a motion to do the yard sale from October 2nd to 3rd and the bulk waste pickup from October 5th to 9th?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Prendergast and Walker.
Do we want to have an alternate date if it's a rain date or anything, or do you just want to stick with that?
I don't think we've ever had a rain date.
Okay, great, that's fine.
Yeah, people can choose to participate or not, I guess.
I think the more critical thing is the riffraff week.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, that's unanimous. Next is the playgrounds.
I just wanted to mention that we did have the signs installed that were mentioned or approved at one of our previous meetings. They simply say that there's a notice across the top, playground and parks equipment are not sanitized. We put them up right next to the playground equipment and a couple visible locations, as you go into the park. We have some hand sanitizer, little contraptions, I guess you hang on the wall near the restrooms and so on. We have some pole mounted ones that still need to be installed. But I just want, the most important message is the playground equipment is open, but there is some caution. We're not going to sanitize it. We just don't have the personnel to do that. So we'd ask you people to use caution.
Are they also out at Governor's Park near the pavilions?
They're near the playground equipment out at Governor's Park.
Because I thought we said we wanted one near the pavilions as well, so people knew that we're not going to sanitize the tables.
Well, I did ask them to put them near the entrances, so as you drive in, you should be able to see them.
Okay, as long as the people understand that it's everything and not just the playground.
Yeah, I mean, it says,
It says,
you know, we have probably a dozen pavilions out there.
Okay. I have a question since we're on, I did mention Governor's Park. Will there be any, are there any ADA accessible bathrooms open or almost ready to be open out there?
There's a portable toilet out there that is ADA accessible. I did see an email from you today, Joanne, and I said I would get back to you. I didn't get a complete answer today. I got a partial answer asking, you know, if the restroom on top of the hill, so to speak, near the soccer field will be ready to go by August. He said he would get back to me. There were some other repairs they were working on besides water pressure. And I'm waiting for him to get back to me. So I don't have a complete answer.
Okay.
It's
So
promising.
I did talk to Dave about to get an update on the restrooms today. He told me we'd probably be lucky if we had it done by the end of August.
Well, you're talking about the lower one or the upper one?
The upper one. We have, it's as you mentioned, Ralph, there's about 3 or 4 issues that need to be repaired yet, with the water pressure being the main issue that we have to resolve. And then they have to install the new urinals and so forth, put up the material on the inside, the walls and everything, fix the roof. So there's things that need done to it.
All right.
That's significant. I mean, it's not a week's worth of work. I mean, we're looking at a little bit more time, but we are going to push for that one to get done as soon as we can, because as I'll mention here in a minute, the other bathroom I doubt will be, the ADA bathroom I doubt will be done until the end of September, given where we are.
Okay. At least we can let the public know that, because I know that there are several people that are interested in knowing that. Thanks. The next thing is the update on projects, contracts, and grants. Don?
Yeah, just at this point, I know Ralph and I wanted to bring everyone up to speed on where we are with some of the projects in the borough. First, we have the parking meters. We have the single space meters that we have them. They've been delivered by Civic Smart. We have them in-house. We're trying to set up, since this is contractor installation, we're trying to set up the install for sometime the first week of August, when Eric is able to be back. Even though the install for the single space meters probably will only take a day or 2 at the most. We also have the kiosks, 3 kiosks for parking lot D. That's near the waffle shop. However, we do have some work that our guys have to do. We have to pour 3 concrete pads there. So we probably wouldn't mind, when Building and Property meets, making this part of that meeting where Building and Property can help us on placement, and then we can we'll place the concrete pads, and then we're working with IPS on the kiosks for a mid to late August installation, so that we have all the meters kind of completed before Labor Day, and then that will kind of help guide the committee that can determine when they want to reopen parking meters and so forth. We have down at Musser Lane, our DEP 902 grant. We are waiting on the finalization of the gate installation. Again, we're working with a contractor, and they were delayed due to the coronavirus. We've got back in touch with them, and we're hoping that they're going to go out and order the parts, but probably, I'm looking probably for an August installation of the gate. We have the Talleyrand Park Bridge walkway. Again, fortunately, we have a contractor. They started work last week. Currently, they're working on putting in the north side abutment on the bridge. But that's good that that project is started, and we're glad to see that. We just mentioned the Governor's Park restrooms. The upper restroom, we'll shoot with our guys once they get back on the 27th. We can try to make that one a priority. The lower restroom again, I'm probably looking at the end of September. Chris Berger told me he's going to need a solid 3 weeks for completion of that project. We have the DCED revolving loan grant that goes to the Gamble Mill. I just sent in the paperwork, all the paperwork today, and the request for payment. So the only thing that I want to make council aware of is that initially we were going to shoot for holding back 15,000 of the 500,000 for admin cost. DCD got back to us and said, because the project was put in for the full 500,000 for the Gamble Mill, that's how it had to be written. So we have to provide the Gamble Mill the full amount and use borough funds to help with administration of this project until we get through, until we start getting some of the returns on it down the road. Randy, I just wanted to mention, we had a Safer Grant meeting, the $400,000 grant for the fire department. We had a meeting last week. It was a virtual meeting with our contractor on that. He hasn't done too much over the COVID period, but he's going to start gearing back up, and we set up monthly meetings over the next 3 months to kind of get that project up and running. And just as a note to council, Matt Milliron, who was our CDBG rep for Center County, resigned last week. So we haven't heard from the county yet who we're going to be dealing with for CDBG, but we'll just wait and hear and go from there. We should be probably having to submit an application, I think, soon for the COVID-19 funding. And then in addition, our 2020 project application is going to be due in the next couple months as well. That's all I have.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Don, backtracking a little bit, what was the timeline on the Musser Lane?
Yeah, we're hoping that they'll have that installed by the end of August.
Very good. Thank you.
And then if it all works out and we can complete out that 902 grant, we would like to go ahead and try to resubmit for another one. That's a 90% income, 10% matching grant up to $350,000.
Sounds good.
And meanwhile, Musser Lane is open if you're dumping off your brush.
That is correct, till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. And I think just to remind the public, at the last meeting, we said that the people in town who needed the brush bucket, are they still going to be available by the end of this month?
As far as I know, we put the order in and they gave us a 4-week delivery time. So we do think we'll have additional brush and grass containers by the end of August.
End of August or end of July?
I'm sorry, end of July. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Well, the other thing that we have on old business is the Bellefonte Cruise and Sock Hop, and he's not here.
Yes, I did text him. I didn't see any messages here. Let me just go quick.
What I think we can, but I think because there's some concerns about the size of the group, maybe what we should do is like we did with BHCA and send this over to the Streets Committee and have him attend that meeting so we can have the same kind of conversation with him that we had with BHCA on the Summer Sounds.
That's an excellent idea because like you said, there's a lot of requests and a lot of moving parts. So,
and there's a lot of concerns based on the COVID-19 issues. So
right.
I have a half a page of conditions based on what I found this afternoon. So if we can move that over to Streets Committee, we'll have a big meeting.
You said streets, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then hopefully we can bring this back at the,
Next meeting.
yeah.
Okay.
May I give my update or do you want me to wait?
Go ahead. Give your,
Okay.
no, you are the next thing under there.
I am?
Yep,
Okay.
I added you to the list.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Okay, I have a very brief update on the Sister Cities program. They base it on the population of your municipality. So Bellefonte has, what is it, 6,681 residents. So we would be closest to, I believe, town, I don't know anything about these towns. A town by the name of Kayenta and one named Shinley, which is in Arizona. He had originally suggested to the city that their population is too high. Also, when we apply, the dues that we would pay annually, again, is based on population. So for us, it would be $310. What we would do is we would form a committee, and they like to see a mayor on the committee. They like to see people involved in the arts, somebody maybe from the museum, people involved in business, and then people who are simply involved in cultural exchange or interested in cultural exchanges. So that we'll work on. And this coming week, I am going to try and touch base with people who are actually in the Sister Cities program and who actually get you installed and applied and so on. And that at this point is pretty much what I have on that.
Any questions? Okay. Then we can move on to new business, unless anybody has any old business that I don't know about. Okay. The first item is the fair housing resolution that we do annually. So I need a motion to approve housing resolution 070620-02.
So moved. Motion.
Prendergast and Brackville. Discussion?
It's the same language that's been used. Okay.
Yeah, no change. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next, two items are kind of, I'm going to combine them because I think one is the governor's order for face masks to be worn in public, and the other is a resolution for the borough. What I'd like to do is give some background as to where this came from so that I can pull these two together. Since March, we've been dealing locally, statewide, nationally, and worldwide, attempting to halt the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Centers for Disease Control has stated that, quote, the virus that causes COVID-19 is thought to spread mainly through person to person, mainly through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks. These droplets can land on the mouths or noses of people who are nearby or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. Spread is more likely when people are in close contact with one another within about 6 feet. The reason that the state has gone for a universal masking requirement is because there's a significant portion of individuals with who have coronavirus lack the symptoms, and that even those who eventually develop symptoms can transmit the virus to others before showing symptoms. This means that the virus can spread between people interacting in close proximity. For example, as I just said, speaking, coughing, or sneezing, even if these people are not exhibiting symptoms. As a result, the Centers for Disease Control and the Pennsylvania Department of Health and many nationally recognized individuals across the spectrum and organizations, including Senator Toomey, Dr. Anthony Fauci, U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams, Governor Wolf, and the National Association of Manufacturers have clearly stated that for the safety and health of all residents and visitors to the Commonwealth, that we all depend heavily on frequently washing our hands, maintaining a minimum social distance of 6 feet between yourself and any person who lives outside of your home, and wearing masks whenever you go into the public spaces. As the National Association of Manufacturers said, by following these guidelines, we help get the economy roaring, protect jobs, and support and stop the spread of COVID-19. Governor Wolf and the Pennsylvania Department of Health have issued several orders regarding the COVID-19 pandemic emergency to help protect the citizenry here in Pennsylvania. This order has now become more urgent as a result of the resurgence of the spread of this virus throughout the country, including to some extent here in Pennsylvania. So on July 4th, the Department of Health updated the April 15th order relating to public health safety measures and the May 27th orders for reopening the Commonwealth to mandate that masks must be worn outdoors as well as indoors whenever anyone leaves home, and that communities and their local officials, law enforcement, and others are tasked with educating the public regarding all of these public safety issues. The Center County Commissions, as a result of this request, created a countywide resolution based on the request from the state that they discussed last week and that will formally be adopted tomorrow in their resolution. They sent the resolution to the 35 municipal boards and councils to pass a similar resolution. The resolution before you this year mirrors this request from the county. The county's resolution and the governor's order of July 1st are both in your packet. And as I said, this resolution is based on these two documents. So by passing this resolution, Bellefonte is one, agreeing that by wearing masks, we can save lives, safeguard businesses, and bring back jobs. Second, we're endorsing Governor Wolf's mandatory mask wearing for Pennsylvanians when in any indoor or outdoor public space where social distancing can't be maintained. We're asking people who live, work, learn, and play in Bellefonte to wear masks when in a public space where social distancing can't be maintained or when in a business. And we're sending our profound appreciation to the leaders of businesses, nonprofits, institutions of faith, and other organizations who have encouraged the wearing of cloth masks to help protect people and safely reopen our economy. And finally, we're directing Bellefonte Borough, including the Bellefonte Police, to educate the public on these mandatory mask wearing requirements as described in the Department of Health orders related to COVID-19. So we need a motion to pass resolution number 2020-0706-3 to save lives and bring back jobs by endorsing and supporting Governor Wolf's mask wearing for Pennsylvanians during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'll make that motion.
Who was first?
Deb was first. I seconded.
Okay, Deb and Prendergast. Clayton and Prendergast. Okay, comments, discussion.
I've noticed around downtown, there's compliance has loosened up quite a bit over the last few weeks. If you go to any convenience store, the staff is geared up, but the customers are not. So I think people are really beginning to not take it seriously. And I've also noticed in a couple of businesses in town that there's signage on the outside of the place of business requiring masks by all customers, but then the employees are not masked up. So there's a miscommunication there.
Yeah,
and I don't know whether, go ahead.
I think all they need to do is update their little sign that says no shirt, no shoes, no service to say no shirt, no shoes, no mask.
No mask.
No service.
Yeah. So I don't know how this You know, how do you enforce it and how do you pick your battles?
Has a municipality that is not a home rule community, we do not have enforcement powers. The only
Okay.
community in Center County that could have enforcement powers is State College, because they're a home rule community and they could pass an ordinance to do this. What the governor's orders did, which I tried to explain in my presentation, is that we have been not ordered, but we've been requested to provide the education, particularly with our community policing. When the police go around and they see that things aren't being followed according to this mandate, is to talk to the business owners, to talk to individuals and request that they follow the orders. We cannot individually enforce them, but we can do the education. And based on what Sean said earlier this evening, talking to the public, I think, is a great method of helping to protect all of us.
Hey, Deb, if I could just chime in a little bit. I know, I don't know whether it's the same vendor or what have you, but I do know this came up at the chamber meeting last week, and I know that the chamber has gone out directly to businesses where they've heard comments. The businesses got back to Gary wanting to comply. In some instances, there was just someone coming from the back didn't have their mask on.
Right.
In other instances, it might have been more profound. However, I do know that the chamber they're directly working with businesses that are chamber members to help them and to help all of Bellefonte, so that word doesn't get out that restaurant or business owners are not wearing masks. They don't want that message, and I don't think any of the businesses do either.
Okay, that's good to know.
I think by having this educational bit that we put out on our website, we put in our Facebook page, we have the police, when they're out and about, if they see a problem, I think that's appropriate. Part of what the discussion I've been seeing is that there are a lot of businesses that are saying that HIPAA says that they can't ask. No, they can't ask, but it's not a HIPAA rule. HIPAA only applies to medical and healthcare centers. They could, as Mike said, no shirts, no
mask, no shirt,
no shirts, no service.
It's
they can, under the ADA, under the Human Relations Act, if a person is not willing to or cannot come in because of an accommodation they need because they can't wear a mask, they could get curbside service. And that is fully legal under the ADA, under the Human Relations Act, which is something that was said at a meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago with PSAB.
And stores.
The only thing I'll say sorry, Mike, but the only thing I'll say to that, Joanne, is when I made that, or when my wife made that comment in a grocery store in State College, the grocery store told her she was perfectly welcome to shop at Instacart.
And I said, like I said, we can't enforce it, but we can let people know.
I know.
And that's what this resolution is an educational.
Stores and businesses can enforce it because it's just like a restaurant that says shirt and tie required. If you don't have a shirt and tie, you're not going to get served. The other issue is that some of these businesses are licensed, and if they don't follow these rules, they could lose their license, whether that's a liquor license or a restaurant license or whatever. I don't want to see that happen, but I know they're filing complaints with the Department of Health, and I would like to see all of our businesses remain open. All of our businesses who are doing a good job to be given the kudos. And I think by passing this resolution, we'll be able to at least partially get to that point.
Yeah, I think passing a resolution is the proper thing to do. But we don't have a whole lot. We can't tell the people we have a whole lot of enforcement power.
That's correct.
Most of our resolutions are like that.
Unless it is an ordinance, we have no power of enforcement, and this is just a resolution.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the resolution. I have a problem with its length. It goes.
The length was,
It'd be nice if we could shorten it up so that business could post it on their door on one page.
yeah, I think this is the last page that's the most important. The reason it's long is that we mirrored what the county did.
It may be because it doesn't come down to borough council, it comes down to the people. I don't care if it's
Yeah.
business or residents.
Yeah, I think the last page with the therefore be it resolves is what should be put up on the webpage. I don't think we need all the other stuff.
Because even going to green did not take away the masks.
No, it did not.
Right.
No.
For some reason, that's when it started.
Any other discussion? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
I don't have any other old business or new business. Does anybody else?
Nine.
No.
I will, however, make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Mhm.
Prendergast motions to adjourn. Who seconds?
I'll second it.
Clayton. I see no opposition. We are adjourned at 9:18 p.m.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, friends.
Good evening. Thanks,
Thank you
Sean.
all.
Good night.
Enjoy.
Have a good evening.
Night.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody.
Good night.
See you, Mr. Prendergast.
Yee.
How's
Sean?
your building coming? Your remodeling.